And I'm joined by Marisa Corona, who is a project manager for our rental assistance program and small business supports. We operate an inclusive space where we connect communities to services and also to each other with the ultimate goal of community empowerment. We engage communities through the arts and through cultural events. For example, last Dia de Muertos, we had 500 community members here. They came to share tamales and listen to live Mexican music and participate in an Aztec ceremony, but they left with resources, vaccinations, and tangible assistance. And that's how we do all of our service providing, through the lens of our culture and community connection. We have advocated for equity in the pandemic response throughout the pandemic, providing over 720 vaccinations at our location alone, and directly facilitating over 15,000, mostly Latino vaccinations at the King County Vaccination Partnership Redmond site. For our project, we created a short documentary film with the wonderful partnership and guidance from Robin Hagewood at King County Communities of Opportunity. This film explores the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on Latinos in King County. The film highlights community voices and allows a forum to advocate for real needs based on real experiences so that our community has increased access to resources and information. It is an advocacy film. We will show a short clip from the film, and then we'll place a link to the full film in the chat box. Please feel free to share it widely. We also have thumb drives and a companion photo book available. So if you're interested in receiving those materials, please let us know how many you would like and where to send them, and we'll be happy to do that. And our email is in the chat. Again, thank you. And please keep in mind as you're watching the short clip that we've put together, that for every person that you see in the film, we collected many more stories. We've spoken with hundreds of community members over the course of the pandemic. And these are representative stories of many others that we have talked to. So after we show the clip, we'll have some time for questions or observations or conversation. Thank you.
Nunca yo lo demostré a mis hijos que estábamos sufriendo o que yo estaba sufriendo, esperanzada de dónde iba yo a ganar dinero para pagar la renta, ¿verdad? Entonces tuve que hacer fuerte delante de mis hijos. Nunca lo demostré que estaba yo batallando demasiado, donde yo sabía sola nomás.
My mom is like single and like she has to work like twice as hard as a normal family would. If I could, I would probably help out my mom and like just financially, just so she gets like some weight off her shoulders because she's born, so she doesn't have to worry about like having to pay rent and like or like some bills, like medical bills or anything like that. I would like help her out in some of those if I could.
To help like pay for the rent and stuff, but I can't work right now because I'm still too young.
Cortarli por lenka anar fuaner ko me ko fo subendatan porque edatam ne tara paisla alla shakera etara paisla edatam ne etara paisla kurmer ko fo erme ko fo subenne zatan subene ke ayuda ko me ko fo como algo erme ko fo que shakera ne asha apoyo, ayuda para que yo na país la el naña hena país que corne shafo que asha que amne yo na país la que ana shion que ala ne naña na país que cursa erure emergena que ana hamne yo na país la.
I gotta do something for my kids, and I kind of did it on my own. I did crush a lot of times because it wasn't easy. I didn't have a job. I literally had to get into all the federal programs that there is out there. That was devastating for me. And there was no help. Honestly, I felt I had no support whatsoever from anyone. Not even social workers, school counselors, nowhere. It all shut down on me. And it was hard. No daycare, you know, just me and the kids at home, trying to figure out what we were gonna do.
Pues recibí la llamada de ese compañero que era el que hacía el bajo, el bass en el trío, que tengo ya muchos años. Me comunicó que estaba enfermo de COVID. Yo estaba en México en ese momento para visitar a mi padre. Desde octubre él empezó a batallar mucho y su familia, principalmente él era el sostén de su familia. Cuando ya me doy cuenta en diciembre, me vuelve a llamar ya desde el hospital. Me mandó un texto con una foto de él ya entubado, bueno, solamente con el que va aquí en la nariz, y me dice que no iba a salir del hospital. Pero él fallece en enero de este año, del 21. A mí me afectó enormemente, psicológicamente me caí, me deprimí, no trabajé en la música en los siguientes meses, por más de 5 meses hasta la fecha, no me he podido recuperar. Sí pasamos varios momentos de ese tipo de desesperanza, de estar tristes, ir a un evento, cantar, alegrar el momento y no poder mostrarse triste ante la cara de los demás, porque la gente no espera verlo a uno triste. Cantando, alegres, como la cara del payaso, ¿no? Riéndonos, pero por dentro sufriendo la pérdida de compañeros, de familiares.
The pandemic like affected like my school, cause like I had to like just focus on like online school instead. Like I couldn't go back to school, and like anything that I had, like if I had some questions about like my homework or any tests that were upcoming, it was like hard to ask, cause then she would just tell me, but like she wouldn't explain me how she used to before. So it was harder since all of my brothers were like using the internet at the same time. This internet was like really slow, so we couldn't load up pages, and it was just like really hard.
La verdad es muy difícil.
Thank you, Marisa. Okay. So there you see some pieces of the film. The documentary is about 25 minutes long, and it goes into different aspects of how the pandemic affected the Latino community. So you saw a little bit there about education, loss of childcare, which meant that parents couldn't go to work, loss of jobs, of course, illness. It's been devastating for the Latino community, and in some ways, there's been a lot of talk about how the pandemic sort of took the veil off of the inequities. But we know that the communities that have been affected by these inequities have always known they were there and have been vocal about it. So this film is really it's not meant to really look back and cast blame. Really, it's meant to look forward and say, how can we do things differently, and what can we do in the future to have a more equitable response, so that all communities have access to opportunities, resources, good health, educational supports, behavioral health supports, the whole thing. So I'll just open it up. If there are any questions or comments or observations, please feel free to just unmute yourself and we can have a conversation. What we've been hearing a lot from the community is that the impact on our youth has been huge, and we see that here at Centro Cultural Mexicano. Every week we get parents in here asking for referrals for mental health supports for kids. They're seeing things that they just hadn't seen in their children before the pandemic. We have youth interns here that come in and work with us every week, And they tell us that there are whole Instagram pages at their high schools dedicated to the fights that are happening at the high schools. This didn't used to be this way. So we're seeing a lot of these, we're hearing a lot of these stories. We're seeing our youth suffering, parents not knowing how to help them, a lack of mental health supports in our communities, but particularly a lack of mental health supports that have cultural relevance for our community and in language supports. The divide with technology is very real, and we live in a place where we have technology around every corner, and yet you heard in that clip, we have an East King County youth who is in the heart of the technology center and can't do his homework online because his connection is slow and they can't navigate the systems. So, even when, well, I'll leave it there for now and see if anybody has, maybe I'm just trying to give you some time to think, and if anybody has any comments or questions.
Hi, Angie and Marisa, thank you so much for the video. I think the stories are so incredibly important. And I'm here tonight. I'm on the governance group for Communities of Opportunity. And it is such an honor to see the work that's happening and hear the stories. As you say, they are no surprise, unfortunately, but it has a different impact when you hear stories from people themselves. In one of the stories, somebody talked about, and I've always known, we've always known that the hoops that people have to go through to get resources have always been challenging. And I'm wondering if there are particular barriers, right? If we prioritize, whether that's verifying income or where they live, what they, so are there things that you think or that the people who you serve think would make it easier to get through those processes?
Yes. What we see very clearly is in East King County, and also we serve the rest of King County as well, and parts of Snohomish County. I'll just start by saying that, but primarily King County. We see that the Latino community comes to us because we have a space. They know that when they come, we have 7 staff members who speak Spanish, who understand what they're going through, and can serve them right then, right there, directly. And we've been here, through the pandemic. As soon as we were allowed to get back open, we were here in person. Before that, we were doing it remotely. But even through the pandemic, we were knocking on doors and delivering food boxes with resources, because we know that for our community, it's very hard. This is one thing we see, it's very hard to ask for help. And part of that is, well, we hear a lot, maybe someone else can use it more. There's more of this idea of the collective good, kind of like if someone might give it to my neighbor, they can use it more, but you can tell that this person clearly needs it. We saw that over and over and over again. And then the other part of it is, in the past, when they have gone for help, what'll happen is they'll call an agency, and they'll say, you're going to get a call back from someone who speaks Spanish. Well, they never get a call back. And then what happens is the word gets around town, don't call that agency because they don't respond. They never call us back. And, and at one point we did a survey, this was at the end of 2020, and over about 93% of those that we talked to told us that they hadn't even looked for assistance any other place except Centro Cultural Mexicano, because they just felt we're not going to get it. So we were the first and only, and then we were able to say, well, we have these great relationships. Hey, let us, that kind of, guidance of, let us sit down together and we'll connect you here, 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 and here. So what I would say is our institutions do not give enough support to small grassroots organizations that are doing this direct work. There are many examples, not just our organization, where we're doing this work. We're successfully doing this work, and but it's kind of, we don't have the sustainability necessarily built into our contracts, and yeah.
And you know, just so you, at least personally, what I've seen is that I absolutely agree with you that small community groups that are connected and trusted in communities are so much more effective than, you know, even if we trained every organization in cultural norms and sensitivities and all of that. I think, to your point, they haven't had the same experiences or similar experiences, and it's very hard to connect with someone who you feel like is looking down on you or just doesn't have the same lens that you do, and it makes it even harder to help. So I see Rochelle has their hand up, so I'll stop talking now.
Thank you, Jen.
But thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, I actually, can you hear me? Is my audio okay? Okay. Thank you for queuing that up. I kind of wanted to build off of what you were saying there, and thank you for the presentation and videos, and queuing up just kind of this conversation about looking forward. So my name is Resham Patel. I work for Public Health Seattle King County, and I came here just to hear about the stories and the great work that our community partners are doing through this program. But I also am very interested in thinking about how we build towards the future. So one of the things that my team is working on is a comprehensive look back / build forward based off of public health and King County's COVID response. And you know, we have a lot of ways, similar to what you shared about the way in which you were collecting community feedback. We have a lot of ways of gathering feedback from staff and those who were working, you know, on behalf of the county. What we have to balance, but we know is so key to us being able to tell the story and for ongoing and future responses and collaborations, is how do we work and partner with community leaders and community organizations like yourselves to capture those stories and all these lessons. So I guess for me, one of the things I'm interested in is looking forward in the year ahead, how do we learn from the incredible work that you've done, or other questions that we need to be asking? What services and priorities did our community and all the communities within King County, what would they say are the most pressing to incorporate in the future or ongoing kind of efforts? And then what were the processes, you know, and what were the systems that were easiest to use and what were the clunkiest, you know, in terms of what you just shared about not getting a call back? Well, what is it that we could design? What can we do from now until the future to be better, you know, equipped to support community on the priorities that they have? So I know we don't have a ton of time, but thanks for letting me share that. And I would love to have a follow-up conversation with any of you all on this line about thinking through that.
Thank you. I think those are great. Everything you raised was great. And it's what we need to be working on. And our door is always open. We always look to collaborate. So please always feel free to call us. And I see we're out of time, but thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your presence here.